Well, hello parents, and you're very welcome to this recorded meeting for you P6 parents with children moving into P7 in September. And of course, on your mind very much will be the transfer procedure, and for some of you, the transfer test. And just from the very beginning, just to make a difference between those two things, every child will go through the transfer procedure. They will move from P6 into P7, and they will then go through the process of moving from primary to secondary school. Every child will do that. Some children will do the transfer test, and that does not have to be part of the transfer process. That is different, it is extra, it is on top, and it is for some children, but not necessarily for all children. So you can see there that it is for parents to choose the test or tests which best accommodate their son's or daughter's choice of school. And what we mean by that is, first and foremost, you need to decide whether the tests are right for your child to sit. Now, a very simple rule of thumb is this: if your child finds schoolwork relatively straightforward and easy, if they are highly motivated, if they achieve well with only some support rather than lots and lots of intervention or support, then possibly the tests are right for your child. If your child, however, finds schoolwork an uphill struggle, if they require a lot of intervention and a lot of support, then the chances are the tests are not right for your child. And children would be much, much better if they fall into this category at focusing and concentrating on ordinary day-to-day schoolwork, which at the end of the day is still going to be level 3, level 4, pushing towards level 5 as they go into P7 anyway. So it's not that some are going to be in a fast lane and others are going to be in a slower lane. It is very much about putting the children on the right track for them. So for some, it's better to concentrate on the ordinary, day-to-day, solid stuff of schoolwork so that they make progress throughout P7 and get ready for secondary school. But for some children, highly motivated, very capable, and they love their schoolwork and they do not mind doing tests and revising and studying, then the tests might be for them. So there is no need for children to sit these transfer tests. Let's be clear on that from the beginning. They are not mandatory. They do not have to be done. I myself, as many of you know, have 5 children, and some of my children at home have sat the tests while others have not. You know your children better than anyone else, and so it is ultimately your decision as parents to make that choice. Of course, it's best whenever the children and the parents agree, but parents, I would say to you that it is your decision. You're the person that needs to sign the documents, not your child. You are the person that needs to make that final decision. And so there may be some conversations that you need to have with your children about making the best possible choice. So no one has to do the test, but some people will choose to do the tests. And in a few short slides, I will be passing you over to Mr. Irwin, our P6 teacher, and he will be taking you through much more of the detail. I'd also like to say, just from the beginning of our online meeting, that the transfer tests, AQE and GL, are not a lottery. Some parents think that Let's give the children a chance. Let's give them a go. Let's put them in for it, and you never know what they will get. Parents, in 25 years, I can say that I have rarely, if ever, been surprised when the transfer tests come out. And that would be true for every P6 and P7 teacher across Northern Ireland. And if we're honest, also for most parents as well. You know the school reports your children have got from P1. You know their strengths, you know their weaknesses, and between yourselves and what you know and the information, the test scores, the school reports, your child's attitude to learning at home, particularly when there's extra work to be done, you know the right choice, the right decision for you. And with regards to it being a lottery, we probably do know. We have a good idea of how your child will do. We do not want your summer, we do not want the first part of P7 being characterised with running battles, with children refusing to do additional work. It's easy now for children to say, I want to do it, but over the summer and into the autumn, particularly at the moment with COVID-19, that's whenever the rubber hits the road, and we do not want parents ending up in running battles with children over the extra additional hard work that needs to be done. So it's not a lottery. You probably have a good idea, as we do, how your child will perform in these tests if you choose for them to do it. If you're not sure, speak to school. Speak to Mr. Irwin, their current teacher, or speak to me either by phone or by email. And all we can do is advise. We cannot make this decision for you, but we can certainly remind you of the evidence that you already have and already have seen before. Children who have a statement of special educational needs should not typically sit the transfer tests. For these children, the annual review will be used to decide their secondary school placement. Now, depending on what the special educational needs may be, that does not necessarily have to exclude a grammar school placement, but the process is different. It is done through annual review, educational psychology. The learning support coordinator, Mrs. Pearson, will be involved in that, as will the P7 teacher. So for those children with an SEN statement, it is a different process. Now, a quick who's who of who is involved. We have some key players, of course, in the transfer test, and this meeting is very much focusing on the transfer test that some people will do rather than the transfer procedure that every P7 goes through. The Association of Quality Education, AQE for short, they represent 37 Northern Irish grammar schools, and they use the CEA test, the Common Entrance Assessment Test. And most of the grammar schools in our vicinity, close to East Belfast, would be accepting the AQE test. The other test, and again, Mr. Irwin will go into more detail as to what these tests look like, where they're done and how they're done. But the other test is the PPTC, the Post-Primary Transfer Consortium test. And there's 34 grammar schools who use these particular tests. Some schools will accept scores and grades from either test. And for that reason, some parents choose to enter their children for both AQE and GL, so that they can apply to as many schools as possible, not just those that take AQE, not just those that take GL, but all of the grammar schools, and that way they're covered. They're maximising, if you like, their options. In general, in this part of East Belfast, schools that accept the AQE would include Wellington, Grosvenor, and many of the large city centre grammar schools. Some schools, however, some of the grammar schools don't accept AQE. They only accept the PPTC. That's the multiple choice question or test. And that would include, in terms of popularity at least, Laggan College's grammar band. So some people are interested in sending their children to Laggan College as a grammar school placement. They have a unique system where they have a grammar stream as well as an all ability stream. And so quite often in Craiga, we would have parents who are interested in that. It is for parents to check out which schools accept which scores from which tests. It does change from year to year. There are some schools that accept just one kind of test score. There are other schools that accept both. And because it changes from year to year, parents, it's up to you to check out by the school website or ring the school or look at the school's prospectus, most of which are online, to make sure that you know, if you're interested in a grammar school, which test your child would need to do to stand a chance of going to that school. So that's very important that you know which tests your children needs to sit. Does he or she need to sit both of them or just one of them? And that's an important decision that needs to be decided on quite soon. Continuing on then with our who's who, we of course have the Education Authority, and they're responsible for issuing school placements. That is done by them, and parents are informed. Usually around this time of year, funnily enough, May time in normal times, which school placement their child has actually got. And they're also responsible for schools' admission criteria publishing. That is, each school is independent in terms of setting its admission criteria. The Education Authority cannot tell a secondary school, whether they're a high school or a grammar school, what their admissions criteria should be. It is the Board of Governors of the secondary schools that decide that. So again, parents, you need to familiarise yourself with the admissions criteria of the school that you are interested in. Incidentally and interestingly, it is only grammar schools who can use the results of AQE or PPTC tests. High schools cannot even ask what those results are. And so it is only for grammar schools that these tests need to be sat. So if you're not contemplating, parents, your child going to a grammar school, your child should not be sitting these tests. And the tests themselves, whilst not perfect, are quite a good indicator. The test preparation is a good indicator, because if your child struggles greatly with the test preparation, then as parents, as I have had to do, and as you will have to do, you need to really ask yourself, if they struggle with the preparation, how will they cope with the high degree of push and the greater level of pressure and expectation in a grammar school setting? And I don't make any apology as someone who attended the local high school for the first 5 years of my secondary school education, and then at age 16 decided, with results that I'd earned, to transfer to grammar school for sixth form and do my A levels there. So one of the wonderful things about Northern Ireland education is that the door never really closes. So if you think, no, my child's not ready to do a test like this, they wouldn't do well enough, I think it might dent their self-confidence. I think it would be an uphill struggle. Parents, you're not closing the door in any way, shape or form on your child going on to do A levels or go to college or university or get a professional job. Not at all. You're simply saying, and you're simply deciding that right now, this is the best choice for us. So for some kids, applying for grammar school is the right choice. They have shown that they are capable at age 11 to do that. Some children at age 11 just aren't quite there yet, but that's not to say that they won't be at a later stage. So the Education Authority will look after the admissions criteria, but parents, you need to familiarise yourself with each school's criteria. Know what they want, know that they demand, make sure you know what tests they require, and help that inform your decision. Most importantly, parents, you are at the heart of this process. The children are yours. And so it is you that needs to decide which tests are to be sat, if at all, and which types of tests. So do they sit the test at all? And if so, which ones? The GL, the AQE, or both? It's the parents who need to complete the application forms, not school. If you need help, then we can provide you with some help. If some parents, for example, need some help to actually fill in, complete the score. Perhaps you think that your own literacy levels perhaps aren't as good as you would like them to be, then we can arrange some support. Alex, our parent engagement worker, for example, would be only too pleased to help you. The forms are designed for parents to fill them in. So they're not particularly complicated, but if you do feel you need help, don't forget to ask. Don't approach school and we'll organise something for you. But parents, it is your responsibility to get the forms and to complete the forms and to return the forms. Please remember that the Department of Education says that schools should have a very, very small role in preparing children. In fact, we're not really supposed to do anything at all, but we respond to the needs of the parents and the children. And in doing that, we find that we do want to help and support. And the work that we do is above and beyond what the children do on the Northern Ireland curriculum. But we do support the parents and the children wanting to do these tests. And of course, parents, information gathering. Now's the time to be looking at schools, and now's the time to rule what is possible in, and also perhaps to start ruling out what you think is not going to be possible. Primary schools, of course, then, we will help with test preparation. And whilst not wanting to blow our own trumpet, we do not have to help with test preparation, but we do. And we purchase tests, we copy tests that we have either made ourselves or doctored, and we try to support you as much as possible, but certainly in terms of that test preparation, so that no child who wants additional support and help doesn't have to miss out. We do a lot there, and Mr. Irwin is going to talk a little bit more about that.
Hello parents, hope you're doing okay. Mr. Irwin here. Sorry that we can't deliver this presentation to you face to face, but we feel that this is the best thing or the next best thing possible. I'm going to talk through the AQE and GL registration, talk about the papers and give you some key dates. The AQE registration is already opened. It closes on Friday the 25th of September. So what I would say to you is if you haven't applied already, then apply pretty soon. As long as you're confident that your child is capable of doing the tests, in line with what Mr. Hegarty said earlier in this presentation. The cost is £50, £35 of that is non-refundable, and it's free if you're on free school meals. So you just need to send them some evidence that you get free school meals. At the moment, if you're getting free school meals, you'll be getting money from the Education Authority into your bank account. Just take a screenshot of that, send it to AQE, obviously block out your personal, any other bank transactions. So the AQE is a 1 hour test that includes both literacy and numeracy questions. The best 2 out of 3 tests count towards your child's standardised score. Okay, so when you get the results of the AQE, it will come out as a standardised score. Normally a 3-digit or a 2-digit number. The average is 100. Okay, so grammar schools are looking for above average pupils. So you want to be scoring above 100 to be putting yourself in with an extremely good chance of your child getting into grammar school. Now at the moment, I send home the tests and you're marking the test and you're marking the test out of 80 and then putting that as a percentage. So how does the percentage translate into the standardised score? Is there a way to do that? The simple answer is no, there isn't a simple way to do that, because the standardised score is based on the best 2 out of 3 tests, and also it takes into account the age profile of your child. So it isn't as simple as converting the percentage to the standardised score. What I would say is that you want your child to be performing or scoring at least 80% and above. Now some years it might take more than that, it could be actually 85%, and other years could be less. And with all that's going on with COVID-19, this year could be one of the years that that the scores could be lower or they could be higher. We simply don't know, but you want to be scoring in that direction of 80% and above. Obviously the higher the score, the more likely it is that your child will get into a grammar school. Now this year the registration is online for the AQE. Previously, you would have had to send hard copies of documents. This year, they're asking for scanned copies. So they need a scanned copy of your child's birth certificate or passport. They need a passport-size photo of your child. It can be no more than 9 megabits in size. And you also need to send them proof of entitlement that you're eligible for free school meals. So the money that you will have been getting while school's been closed in your bank statements, take a copy of that. Hide all other transactions, as long as they can see that you're getting money and they can see your name on that there, that will be fine. Now, on the day of these tests, this is the AQE test, you want to be there about 9:15 at the centre. So the centre will be the grammar school that your child will sit the test in. You'll be asked not to go into the building, okay? It'll be senior pupils or senior staff that will meet your child at the door of the building and take them to the room or to the hall where the test is being sat. They provide pencils, they provide the rubbers, and the answer sheets are pre-printed with your child's personal details. For the GL, refreshments will be provided. Now, on to the GL. Registration opens on Monday the 1st of June and it runs until Friday the 9th of October. As I said earlier, don't leave it till the last minute. Otherwise, your child, if you leave it to the last minute, your child could end up sitting the tests 20, 30 miles away from where you live. They could also be sitting in a test that's not suitable for them. For example, if your child is a girl, they could end up sitting the test in an all-boys school and they'll not want to be going there. There's no cost to the GL. Both the GL tests, there's a literacy paper and there's a numeracy paper. They're both sat on the one day. This is a multiple choice paper, so they'll have a question, they'll have a paper full of the question, and then they'll have an answer sheet where they answer them. AQE set and mark all the AQE papers. GL set and mark all the GL papers. In fact, the GL is actually marked by a computer. Unlike the AQE, the results are expressed as a grade. So they'll not get a score, they'll not get a number, they will get a grade. So like A, B1, B2, a bit like the old system. A being the highest, then go down B1, B2, C1, etc., etc. Now, at the moment, this is the information that we've got. This is subject to change. So The pack will be available online from Monday the 1st of June onwards. You'll be able to scan some of these documents, but this might be subject to change, so they may ask you to actually send hard copies. Okay, so keep an eye out on the pptcni.com, that's the name of the website, pptcni.com, and that's where you'll get all the information about the GL tests. So, on the day of the GL test, it's on Saturday the 5th of December. So it starts off with the English practice, then the assessment, there's a break, then they go to maths practice and assessment, and then they complete the GL at 12:30. There will also be a reserve date for the GL. So for the AQE, there are 3 tests, and for some reason, if your child's sick on one of them, that's okay, because then they'll still have the best 2 out of 3 possible. If your child's sick on the day of the GL, obviously that won't be possible, so they have a reserve date, and then your child will sit the GL test on the reserve date. Now, at the moment, we live in unprecedented circumstances. Okay, we know times are tough, the kids find it hard, you find it hard, we're finding it hard, but we've got to try and stay positive. Okay, we've got to try and see the positives. Okay, yes, we're not in an ideal situation, but every child in P6 is in the same situation. So there aren't situations where some schools are open and others aren't. Okay, and you've got to encourage your child. You've got to be his or her champion. Okay, sometimes when scores dip as they can go up and they can go down. You know, look at the positives. Don't also be afraid to engage with school. Okay, we are still here to help you. You've got to focus on the effort they make and the achievements they make. Okay, so you know, reward your child. You know, it might be hard because they will not be in school. It's not looking likely that they'll be in school before the end of the year. We don't know what September's looking like at the moment, but do be positive. Do stay positive. When they succeed, reward them. Now, they will make mistakes, but it's important to focus on 1 or 2, okay? Don't try and cover every single mistake. We wouldn't do that in school. We'd only focus on a couple of things, iron those mistakes out, and then move on. If you focus on too many, then life just becomes a very hard slog for you and for the boys and girls at home. Now, these are some of the key dates. The key dates: the end of September, start of October. That's when the AQE registration closes and the GL closes. Then Saturday 21st of November, that's the first AQE paper. Then the following Saturday, the 28th of November, that's the second AQE paper. Then the 5th of December, we've got the GL test. The following Saturday is AQE paper 3. And then if for whatever reason your child is sick or unwell and they miss the GL test, then the Saturday after the 12th of December, that's the reserve date for the GL. Another key date in 2021 is the results. So you will get the results posted home on Saturday the 30th of January, and shortly after that you'll have your transfer meeting with Mr. Hegarty, and you'll discuss the results, and you will discuss what school you would like your child to go to. Okay, so that is for the pupils who sit these tests and for those who don't. So everyone in P6 will have a meeting with Mr. Hegarty, and you will discuss the next stages for your child's education. So you'll discuss with Mr. Hegarty where you would like to go, where you'd like your child to go. So you put down your choices, and then at the end of May, start of June next year, 2021, you will find out whether your first choice, your number 1 choice, whether you've been successful in getting it. I'm going to hand over back to Mr. Hegarty, but if there's anything that you need us to explain in a bit more detail, or anything that you're unsure about, then please get in touch with me. Send me a message on CSA, email me, or get in touch with Mr. Hegarty. We're here to help you. We want to help you. And if you're unsure about your child's performance and you're not sure, well, you know, hemming and hawing about whether your child should sit the test or not, then please get in touch. As Mr. Hegarty has already said, it's not a lottery, it's a competition. And the the highest scores or the best scores, those pupils who score those high scores, ultimately they'll be the ones who go to the grammar school. So if you're unsure whether your child fits into that category, whether they will perform well enough, we can advise you, okay, and that's what we do. We can advise. We can't make the decision for you, but if you're unsure, please speak to us. I hope you're keeping well. Hope you're staying safe. And I'll hand over to Mr. Haggerty.
Okay, so just as we bring things to an end, parents, at this video meeting, which again I want to say thanks for watching and sticking with watching and listening your way through it. It's obviously a bit longer than something that teachers would normally put up in Seesaw or whatever, but it is important, and we didn't want to just send out a letter or an email. We thought we'd put the work into recording a little meeting, and it's the next best thing to having you here in person, and there would have been problems of different sorts if we tried to do it live or through Zoom or one of those other video conferences. So we've decided to do this, and hopefully you found it useful. So just to bring things to a close, a little bit about test preparation in school. Now parents, your children are currently in P6, and of course there has been a lot done with an eye, if you like, to the test. So Mr. Irwin has been pushing the children on through the Northern Ireland curriculum, making sure that they progress through the levels, and the level of English and Maths in these tests. There would be very little of level 3. Most of it is level 4, and the harder parts, English and Maths, of the tests would be actually pushing into level 5. And level 5, just to let you know, is the level that secondary schools expect year 8 children and year 9 children to be working on. So really, to be very successful in these tests, you're looking at children working at level 4 and level 5, which is a very high standard indeed if they're going to get a top score. But Mr. Irwin knows that, and he's been pushing the children on in P6. And even though they've been working through the Northern Ireland curriculum, again, we need to remember that the tests ask children questions based on the Northern Ireland curriculum. Whenever I did my test many years ago, that wasn't the case. Verbal reasoning, almost like trick questions. This test is not like that. So in P6, a lot of the classwork and homework has had an eye towards the tests, and so there's been preparation even in classwork and homework. But there has of course been specific work done, and that has been very, very useful. We think of course of Mr. Irwin's Transfer Test Club, which ran, which again is another layer on top of classwork and homework. We think of the practice papers, of course, in P6. Many have already been sent home, and even during this time of learning packs, Mr. Irwin has continued to send those home with answers for parents. I told him not to send the answers home, just let you parents work out the answers. Thought that would be fun, but Mr. Irwin's much kinder than me, and he said no, we'll let the parents have the answers. So hopefully that has made life a little bit easier, and now you know how painful it is for a P6 or a P7 teacher to sit with 15 or 20 or 25 tests and mark them one at a time for the next day or the day after. In P6, the children have also had revision booklets, and we'll probably send home some fresh copies as well for over the summer, in case ones that you've had are getting a bit dog-eared and tired. But again, a revision booklet is only as good as the amount of time spent looking through it. And you know, a couple of pages every day is much, much more use than a child not going near it for a week and then spending, or mum or dad expecting the child to spend an hour or two just flicking through it like a magazine. It will do nothing for the children if they are treated that way. The revision booklets are best used little and often. Think about mud sticking to the wall, and the old adage that the more you throw, it seems that very little sticks, but if you keep throwing it, sooner or later the entire wall will be covered with mud. Same is true with the revision books, folks. Get the children into a routine of doing a couple of pages every day, and that is very important. Weekends off, of course, and even over the summer. Yes, it's okay to take a fortnight's holiday from all school work, but if your child is doing the transfer test, then really they do need to be spending some time over the summer. As I've said, give them a couple of weeks off with no schoolwork, but certainly the revision books need to be out most days. If you don't do that, then I can virtually guarantee that when they come back in September, they will struggle to get off the ground and really get their scores where they need to be. And of course, don't forget, we're assuming that the children will be back in September. The summer work, as we've alluded to already, very important. Mr. Irwin has worked hard in getting this together. Mr. Irwin and school has actually purchased quite a lot of tests, and we normally purchase some and share them with you, but this year, because of the coronavirus and all that's going on, we've actually ordered a lot more, and you will be getting those if your child is sitting the tests. Again, we don't want these to be wasted. We want them to be used. If they're not used, it's a waste of time, folks. So the revision books are summer work. There will be other things that the children will be asked to do for summer work, but the tests that go home over the summer, or practice papers, are really very, very essential that those are done. Establish a good routine and get them done maybe twice a week in the morning. The real tests will be sat, I think, Mr. Irwin, 10 o'clock. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, it makes good sense to me to get your child, your son or daughter, to do their tests over the summer. If you're doing 2 a week, get them to do it at 10 o'clock in the morning so that they are used to working at that time and thinking at that kind of level at that early time in the morning. After the summer, of course, the children will be moving into P7. Classwork and homework will continue. All of that has to reflect the Northern Ireland curriculum, but on top of that, children doing the test will be expected to do test-specific work. And that can't take the place of the other stuff. That needs to be alongside and on top of the other normal P7 work. We know that the children can only cope with so much, and we bear that in mind, but it is extra work both in class and at homework. And of course, we would expect there to be some difference in scores, perhaps, moving from the practice test papers of P6 into doing the real papers of P7. And of course, in the middle are the summer holidays, and that's why the summer holidays, parents, whilst you need to make sure your child does get rest, does get a break, you need to make sure that you're using the summer holidays well. Otherwise, that bridge won't get crossed. So much of the test, particularly when it comes to the maths part, parents, can be learned. A lot of the work is factual. If you don't know what an obtuse angle is, you can't work one out. If you do not know what a pronoun is, you can't spot them or circle them or underline them in a passage of writing. So there's an awful lot that the children can do to help themselves. They need to know a lot of information, and that can be learned from the revision books. So old-fashioned rote learning, just how you probably learn times tables and spellings, a lot of the maths facts, a lot of the English facts just need to be learned, and that's why little and often is the way to get that information into the heads. Well, folks, that's the end of the presentation. At this stage, we would usually have some questions and answers, but that's a bit more difficult this year. If you do have some questions or answers, specific questions I should say, hopefully we'll have the answers, but if you have some specific questions, then of course you can email Mr. Irwin about those, since he is your child's teacher at present. You can get in touch with me as well, and we'll try to get back to you if you have a specific question. But hopefully we've covered a lot. Thanks to Mr. Irwin for putting a lot of this information together today, and also for recording it so that we can share it with parents. And in closing, parents, all I would say is the test is important. In Northern Ireland, the test gives children the chance to walk through a certain door. But again, there are many doors. For some children at age 11, they can manage it. They are up to the challenge, and they can cope very well, and they can do it. And for them, it is right for them to sit the test. I am actually in favour of academic selection, simply because there's always selection. If there's not academic selection, then people will select, if you like, themselves by what they can and can't do. I myself went to a local high school at 11, so I don't feel bad saying that. And even though it seems to run against the grain of my own experience, for me to go to a grammar school at age 11, now that I'm looking back, I think would have been the wrong thing for me to do. But whenever I was 16 and I moved to the local grammar school, I quickly found that I was just as able, if not more so, than many of the people who I joined at the local grammar school. So parents, it is important, but it is not the be all and end all. And in Craig Primary School, the teachers know that. We don't think it is the be all and end all. It is an opportunity for those children who are able to manage and cope with the challenge of the test, and if they can, they should do it. But if your son or daughter is better, their time is better spent concentrating on normal P7 work without the distraction of this test work, then that should be your decision for them. Ultimately, it's your choice, parents, but we're here to give you some evidence that can help you decide. We can't decide for you. But certainly for some children it's the right thing to do, and for others it is not the right thing to do. And so we just encourage you to think about it carefully. Of course, talk to your son or daughter, talk it through. Think about the schools that they have in mind, and ask your son or daughter, why do you want to go to that school? If they're talking about a grammar school, make sure that they know why, ask them why they want to go to that grammar school, because it's the minority of children that are interested in going to schools because of all of the extra work, extra homework, higher pressure, and so on. But for some, that is indeed why they are attracted to particular schools. So again, in closing, thank you very much. Please say hello to the boys and girls from the Key Stage 2 team here at Craig Primary School, Mr. Irwin, Mr. Larmer, and myself. And final word is simply, when it comes to secondary schools, remind the boys and girls, it's not the school that you go to that matters, it's what you do when you get to that school. Without hard work and determination, they will never do as well as they can. So I think that really that is probably a good note to end on. So thanks very much, parents, and we will stay in touch. Thank you.